Hey, what's up YouTube? Shane here with Lone Wolf Survival. So we're back with Season 2, Episode 1. So we wanted to kind of change things up. It's been a while since you've seen us. We've been real busy with the classes and got a lot going on. So we've talked about bug out bags last season, bug out, where you're going to bug out to, gear selection, food storage. We talked about all these different things. But the one thing that we haven't talked about, and we've been getting a lot of emails and stuff for, is bug out vehicles. How am I going to get there? So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk just a little bit about different gear, compact gear. Not going to spend a lot of time on that, and then we're actually going to go and we're going to show you my and Paul's personal bug out vehicles. So let's talk about the vehicle itself first, then we'll talk about some basic gear. So there's two things that need to be considered first. First is the vehicle my daily driver? Or is this a designated vehicle for bugging out? Now you're going to see two different examples. My vehicle is a designated bug out vehicle. Paul's vehicle is a daily driver. So a little different setup. The next thing you need to consider is where are you going? We live in the mountains. Our vehicles are set up for that terrain. Are you going to someone's family's farm that might possibly be in Texas? Are you going to the desert? Are you going to the beach? Where are you going? Where's your bug out location? If you're going to the Colorado Rockies, you're probably not going to get there in a Prius. If I'm going to my neighbor's farm, which is 5 miles down the road, and I live in Arizona, probably not going to need a deuce and a half. So that's important to make sure that what type of vehicle. The next thing is how many people in your party. How many's going with you? If you got 5 people in your party, a Volkswagen rail buggy, probably not the best selection. Same thing, if there's 2 people, I don't need a minivan. So this is very important. I know it kind of seems silly almost, but a lot of people don't have the money to designate and spend on these extravagant vehicles. The reason, as we've told you before, getting ready for it is expensive. So we have to make sure it's things we can do on a budget. And then the final thing, of course, is what am I carrying with me? Now, you know, I'll go out and I'll build shelters, I'll do lean-tos and debris huts, and I'll sleep under the stars, and that's great if you have to. But I have a vehicle, and I have the capability to carry gear with me, so I'm going to carry the necessary things to make survival easier. Because remember, we're talking about bugging out. We're not talking about being dropped off in the middle of the woods because my plane crashed and all I have on me is a Swiss Army knife. It's a totally different scenario, so don't get it twisted. Now then, let's talk about some of the gear selection. When you're looking at your vehicle bag, now remember, you have a 72-hour bag, you have a bug out bag on foot, you have a get home bag, you have a home bag. There's all these different bags. Well, you need a vehicle bag now. That's great, another bag. I know what you're saying, Shane, I need another bag. I've got 5 bags laying here, I can't use those. No. You need a vehicle bag designated for your vehicle that has the equipment and gear in it that you need. So let's just look at some compact products and some of the stuff that I personally carry in my vehicle bag. So some of the things that we always try to key in on, remember we got to cover the basics. We need shelter, food, fire, and water. So let's talk about shelter first. So most lightweight, easiest thing you're going to have, Eno bag. Rain fly, you can spend $80 on the Eno rain fly, or you can use a $5 Walmart tarp. Your choice, depends on what kind of job you have. Plenty of paracord, plenty of tent stakes, Poncho, Fleece sleeping bag. You've seen this thing on many episodes we've done. I love this thing. It's lightweight, gets the job done. So we got shelter covered, no problem. First aid kit, throw that in there. So let's go ahead and look at the next step, water. I have a 5-gallon jerry can on my vehicle full of water, potable water. Also, I have my life straw, some iodine tablets, water covered. Food, Mountain House. How many times have I talked about this stuff? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 packs right there. If I ration it out, that's 6 days worth of food. I got energy bars, pack of Twizzlers. I like Twizzlers. Everybody knows that. Food's covered. These little single serve pack Star-Kissed tuna, $1. at the Family Dollar. These things are amazing, by the way. So I've got the food covered. Well, how am I going to fix it? How am I going to prepare it? Different things I can cook with an open fire, and maybe I don't want a big blazing fire. Maybe I'm trying to stay low key. There's cool things. This is a little Primus gas stove. I absolutely love this thing. Runs off a small Coleman fuel oil, propane, alcohol stove. These are compact things I can put in my vehicle. Don't take up a lot of real estate. And then a cook set. It's got 3 different size stainless steel pots, boiling water, cook my food. Very compact. Stove folds up, goes in here, covers up in a ditty bag, goes in the back of my vehicle. Doesn't take up a lot of room. Plastic Ozark Trail mess kit. Got 2 plates, forks and spoons. Rubber cups. Paul loves these, by the way. They're fun. Everything's compact. So I've got my water and my food covered, and then we look at things fire. So I've got my little fire starter kit here. I got a couple cigarette lighters. I've got my big block Ozark fire starter. I've got a fire disc, which is basically glue and sawdust. A pack of matches, some batteries, fire kit, illumination devices, some different products that are out there. These are cool. This is a solar powered LED inflatable lantern. This thing deflates, folds up, goes in my bag, doesn't take up a lot of room. It's got a meter on here that tells me exactly how much power it's got. I have an extra flashlight, flare, illumination, starting fires, communications, charging. This is made by First Alert. This is a hand crank solar powered AM/FM radio with charging ports. I can charge iPhone. I can charge extra battery, like so on one of the USB flashlights. Ozark Trail LED lanterns, large and small. Signaling devices. Orion Flare Gun. Okay. I can use this for signaling. I can use this for starting an improvised fire. Good to have. Other things, your knife selections that you're going to have. I have 1, 2, 3 different types of knives. Bear spray can also be used for personal defense against bad people. I have a set of night vision in here as well. I have my SOG machete, sharpening tool. All of this stuff goes inside my bag that stays in my vehicle, and I've got a few other things located around on the vehicle itself. All this gear together weighs about 45 pounds. I don't have to really worry about as far as weight wise when it's in the vehicle, but what you want to consider is what happens if my vehicle goes down. I'm in an area that I can't get past, it's impassable. There's maybe gridlock, I can't get to where I'm going, I've got to go out on foot. I still need to be able to carry this stuff with me. I don't want to have a wheelbarrow with a bunch of stuff in it. It doesn't make any sense. So it still needs to be light enough and packable that you can walk in with this. So I would probably downsize a couple of things before I actually took off on foot with this pack. All right. So that's just kind of a rundown on what I've got in here. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go and we're going to take a look at our bug out vehicles, and I'm going to show you some of the modifications and some of the gear that we carry on there. It'll kind of help you and give you an idea when you're selecting what type of vehicle you want and what you want to load it with. A little bit more a rounded view of how we operate versus how you're going to have to operate. So we'll be back in a minute and we'll go over our vehicles. Okay, so we're back and I'm standing in front of my bug out vehicle, and I know what everybody's thinking. Yeah, he drives a Jeep. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start and tell you, don't go out and buy a Jeep. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that's what I prefer. So, 1995 YJ, 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. That's what I'm running with. It's pretty much stock, other than I'm running a 3-inch Skyjacker lift kit, 33-inch tires. Some of the things that I've done to it, I've put a positive lock 4x4 engagement system on here. Anyone that knows anything about Jeeps know in the 90s they had the vacuum locking system and it absolutely sucked. It's terrible. So Posi Lock makes a system now we can go in and change it out, and now you can actually manual lock in and out your four-wheel drive. Works a lot better. The reason I've done that is because this is my bug out vehicle. This is my designated vehicle, not my everyday driver. So if I'm out there and I'm trying to get where I'm going and I start having problems with my four-wheel drive system, it's not an effective bug out vehicle, because now it's not a four-wheel drive anymore. It's a two-wheel drive, and that's a problem. So when you're selecting a vehicle, you need to look at some of the small things that you might have to change to make that a bulletproof functional vehicle. Some of the other things I've done. Got a 5,000-pound winch on the front. I know what somebody's going to say. Wait a minute. That's not enough. Yes, it is. Dry weight on a Jeep Wrangler is 4,200 pounds. I use snatch blocks and pulleys to reduce my weight. So yes, 5,000 pounds is fine for me. I don't need a 12,000-pound winch on here. A couple of other things you can see. I've got an axe on the front just in case I've got to notch a tree. I got to chop something. There it is. High lift bumper jack in case I've got to get it off a rock, off a log, jack it up to crib it to get it out of the mud, or I don't know, change a tire because it sits too high. Some of the other things that I've done, I'm running on the inside. CB radio. Everything on the inside is pretty much stock. I've rhino lined the complete tub. There's holes drilled in the bottom for water drainage because you don't want water popping up, puddling up in the bottom of this thing. Run a bikini top. I got a dash cam so I can get cool video when we're out on the trails. But everything on the inside is pretty much stock. I haven't really done anything to that. So little things that you can do. You can see I've got a knife here. I've got bear spray here. I've got a SOG tomahawk fastened to the back. We'll step to the back now and I'll show you kind of the vehicle equipment. If the vehicle doesn't have the necessary things to get you there, what's the point of having it? So 5 gallons of potable water that I carry that I can also use to replenish if I have problems with overheating. Gallon of antifreeze, fire extinguisher, gear oil, motor oil, everything from brake fluid to my other additives. I've got additives in here. I've got leak sealers. I've got everything that I could possibly need if I have a problem. I've got a toolkit if I've got to do some kind of repair on the way. Because if you run low on oil, you're not going to make it there. That makes sense. Other things: jump pack, fix-a-flat, tire plugging kit. I've got my pull straps, 5,000-pound weight reduction pulleys, carabiners, 4,000-pound lanyards. I have a solar battery charger, just in case. I also have a 200-watt power inverter, AC/DC power inverter, so that I can get AC power off my battery. I recharge my system with this. I've got an 8x12 tarp. If I need to cover the Jeep and now it becomes a shelter, or I need a larger shelter, it's brown in color, camouflage. There's a lot of different things you need to look at when you're outfitting your vehicle. I run no rear bumper. I've got a shovel. All these things are things you need to take into account when you're setting your vehicle up. All right? Like I said, I run a 2.5. I don't have a lot of horsepower, but it gets there. So I have to make sure that I have the proper tools and equipment to make sure this is an effective vehicle. So not a real complicated setup. Like I said, this is my designated vehicle. So it depends on how much money you have to spend on one. If you have that, if you have the funds to designate a bug out vehicle, I would suggest you do that. If not, then you're going to have to make sure that your daily driver has the equipment and is set up to get you there. So that's my bug out vehicle. So now we're going to step over and we're going to take a look at Paul's bug out vehicle. Okay, so now we're standing in front of Paul's 2003 TJ. You've got the 4.0 6-cylinder, where I'm running the 2.5 4-cylinder. And some of the things that he's done: 35-inch tires, 5-inch lift kit, He's got the high lift bumper jack as well. His light system is a little different. His running lights are all wired straight to battery off toggle. In case his ignition system goes down, then he still has the capability to run his lights. Also, his CB is straight run too. So if he loses any kind of his electrical system, since this vehicle has a computer system on it, it's not going to be all of his systems are down. So pretty basic setup on the same on the inside. He's got his rock bars on here. Fire extinguisher. We'll step to the back. Cargo rack. He's got his lens covers. He's got his shovel, first aid kit. He's got his straps. He's got his tool set. He's got an extra drive shaft, universal. That's important to have these things if you're running vehicles like this. If you're out and you're trying to get to your location and you have a mechanical failure, you better have the parts to be able to fix it on the road. That's why I said we prefer these vehicles. These vehicles we know, and we can work on these in the field. We have the necessary tools and equipment with us. Once again, I'm not telling you go out and buy a Jeep because that's what we run. But you need to make sure, if you're not a mechanic, you need to have enough, you need to be mechanically inclined enough to be able to work on it. A 2016 Ford Raptor probably not going to be the best choice as your bug out vehicle if you can't work on it and you don't have extra parts. So that's very important that you need to look at that. So remember what I said. Where are you going? How many people's going with you? How far is it? And what area do you live in? Like I said, we're in the mountain area. That's why we run these vehicles. You may not need anything quite set up like this. So take that in consideration. Also, how much gear you're carrying. Keep your gear compact, lightweight. Pack only the necessities for short term and long term. Well, I'm Shane with Lone Wolf Survival, and as always, be safe and have fun.